DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, actually, especially yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, one daily masterclass. That is what you're listening to right now. All of this is under one umbrella that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to make yourself feel like it. Now, maybe somebody will call this how to get yourself motivated. You can call it that if you wish. Maybe we'll title it that. We'll see. But this is a topic that I get asked about this often by people when they hear about my topics and they see the things that I talk about. Many people put me in the box of motivation. Some of the things you talk about, Dre, is very motivational, it's inspirational, it's kind of things I can listen to every day to get me going, get me ready for my day. And that's all right, even though I don't label myself a motivational speaker. I'll take that as a compliment, that you listen to the things that I say and it can help get you going, help get you activated. And because of this, I get people asking me things like, well, Dre, I want to play this sport, but I don't always feel like working out. Or I want to write a book, but I don't always feel like sitting down to write my book. Or I want to start a podcast, but I don't always feel like turning the microphone on and doing the thing that I need to do. Or I want to do X, but I don't always feel like doing the work that is required in order for me to actually accomplish doing X. So how can you is there a way, first of all, to make yourself feel like it when you don't actually want to do the work that you know you need to do? The answer is yes. And then, what is the way? What are some options that you have for making yourself feel like it even when you don't really feel like doing it? I have answers. So you are here in the right place at the right time, and you are the right individual to be listening to this. So today, let's get straight to it. Actually, before we get straight to it, let me remind you I got a text line where I want you to text me and tell me the best insight you get from today's episode. What are you going to use from what I said here today that maybe you hadn't thought of before, never heard of it before, it's brand new to you, or maybe something I'm reminding you of that you had heard before, but you haven't been using it. It was in the recesses of your mind, but now that I've made it conscious to you again, now you might actually do something about it because now you're thinking about it. Text me and tell me what that is. My text number is 305-384-6894. Once again, 305-384-6894. The number is down below in the show notes of this episode. Again, people who are not aware of the concept of show notes, it appears to me that some people are not aware that when you open this particular episode, so if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, click on the details button or read more or get more information, whatever that button is, to this particular episode, not the whole show, but this particular episode, there's a bunch of information in there that's textual that you can see. Not only does it give you a short little write-up of what this episode is about, we also have notes that tag, hey, here's point number 1. We give you a timestamp for point number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, however many there are. Every episode that I refer you to. So if I refer to 5 other episodes of my show, in this episode, they will be linked down below in the show notes, and also in the show notes, in every episode, we have a link to anything else that I mentioned. So if I tell you to go get my book for free, there's a link to the book. If I tell you to text me, the number is down below in the show notes, so you don't have to rewind this and remember the number. All you have to do is go down the show notes, the number is there. We also have a link where you can actually click the link, and that will actually open up your text messenger, and you can text me. So the show notes are the details and notes, and the textual write-up of everything that we're talking about here today is down below in every single episode of this show. So any of you who didn't know that, and it has come to my attention that some of you did not know that these exist, so I'm giving you a quick lesson here. Click the details button, I think on Spotify. Actually, I got my phone sitting right here next to me, so let me pull up myself. So I'm looking at an episode here, and now I gotta go to the Work on Your Game feed so I can see it the way that you all are seeing it. So when you look at all the episodes of the show on Apple Podcasts, each episode under the title, and then you can see a little bit of the write-up, click the button that says details, and then you can see the full show notes of today's episode or of any episode in the history of this show. Now, if you happen to be listening on Spotify, and I'm only going to go over those two because those are the two that it seems like the most listens that I'm getting are usually coming from those two platforms. So I'm going to just use those two as an example. And now let me pull up the Work on Your Game show. So when you're on Spotify, any episode that you go to, you want to click those, no, not that. I don't use Spotify that often, so I'm looking at it and figuring it out myself right now. So any episode in Spotify, just click in the episode period. Just click on the episode, just click on the title, click on a little write-up. You see it says what day it came out, and then it tells you how many minutes the episode is. Just click in anywhere in that little section, and it will open that particular episode. Then the title will be really big at the very top, a big header. Then you get the description. You can click see more. When you click see more, what you're going to see is the show notes stamps that tells you, all right, at this time period, that's when I go on to point number 1. At this time, point number 2. This time, point number 3. At this time, we do the recap. So we have these laid out. So if you ever want to skip around the different points of any episode, we have that laid out. And then every episode that I mentioned, we have those linked. So you can just click on the links right there in the description of the episode, and you can go straight to those episodes that I'm referring to. So you don't have to go on Google. You don't have to try to go and find it on DreAllDay.com. You don't have to scroll through 1,000 episodes in the Spotify feed or the Apple feed. All the links are right there for you. So any of you who didn't know that, all right, now you know it. All right, so now not only are you getting to learn how to make yourself feel like it, but I also just gave you a lesson in how to use these podcasting apps, just in case you didn't know. So all that said, now let's go on to point number 1. The topic once again today is how to make yourself feel like it. Point number 1, don't feel like it. Don't make yourself feel like it, because you just don't feel like it, but do it anyway. All right, this is the first option. If you don't feel like doing the thing that you're supposed to do, so what? Do it anyway. You don't have to feel like it to do your work. You don't have to feel like it to go to your job. Who here is at work right now and doesn't feel like being at work? I know somebody is nodding their head right now. Somebody's raising their hand right now. But guess what? You're still there. You're at work. You didn't feel like it, but you made it to work anyway. So what does this prove? You don't have to feel like it to go to work and do your job. How many of you have kids? Have you ever not felt like dealing with your kids on a particular day? Listen, you can tell me. You don't have to tell your kids this, but you can be honest with me. There are times you don't feel like dealing with your kids, but you do it anyway, don't you? You get them dressed. You make sure they're bathed. You make sure they got no food, clothing, shelter. You make sure they got breakfast and they got lunch to take with them to school. You make sure that they are representing you at least adequately when they walk outside of the house, even though you didn't really feel like it. But you made it happen anyway. You don't always feel like doing that job, but you did it anyway. So you don't have to feel like it to do your job. How many of you run a business? You don't always feel like dealing with the people who work at your company. You might not like some of your employees. You might not like some of your customers. You might not even like what your business is doing, and maybe you're thinking about pivoting and doing something completely different because you're not really excited about what you're doing in your business anymore. Yet, you still find a way to do it. So the point that I'm making here in point number 1 is something that you already know, but again, you may not always think about, and this is something that we tend to do here on this show, is that you don't have to feel like it to do your job. How many of you have something voluntary that you don't have to do at all, but you really want to do, or at least you say you want to do, and maybe you do it, maybe you don't? How many of you you want to get in better shape? You don't feel like going to the gym. What do? Do you go to the gym anyway? I can't answer this question. Now, going to work, I know you probably do anyway, because if you don't go to work, now you're not getting paid. Taking care of your kids, you probably do anyway. You don't take care of your kids, then some people in suits come knock on your door and take them away. But these voluntary things, like let's say you want to start a podcast, you want to write a book, you want to lose 20 pounds, you want to get 6-pack abdominal muscles, you want to run a 5K. Do you do these things when you don't feel like it? I mean, you obviously have the discipline to make yourself do it for the other things. Why not do it with this thing? This is a rhetorical question I'm posing to you right now. I'm going to help you solve this, but I just want to put the question out there so you can have it on your mind before we address it. Understand that this is always an option, and sometimes it's even a necessity. Again, in the situations of things that you feel that you have to do, such as taking care of your children, such as going to work, such as serving your customers in your business, for whatever reason you feel like it's a necessity for you to do it, even when your motivation and energy are lacking, somehow, some way you find a way to do it. Now that's a seed that you should keep. I want you to pay attention to that seed, because there's a lot of germination we can do with that seed right there that can help open up a lot of things for you. There will be many times in your life when you need this seed right here. You don't feel like it, but you find a way to do it anyway. Keep handy the idea that you do not have to be motivated to still do your job. Now you're thinking about that, right? You got it in mind? Good. Let's move on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to make yourself feel like it. Number 2, have a routine and follow it. This is a good way to make yourself feel like it, is putting a routine in place for whatever the it is, whether that it is going to the gym, it is dealing with your significant other, it is writing your book, it is recording your podcast, whatever that it is. Put a routine together for whatever that thing is, and then just follow the routine. If you just follow the routine consistently, here's what happens. Habit and inertia will carry you to action. All right, the law of inertia states very simply that an object in motion will remain in motion, or an object that is not in motion will remain not in motion unless or until acted upon by some outside force. What that means is this: if you create a routine of getting up and going to work every day, whether you're motivated or not motivated, on the days that you are motivated, you happily follow the routine. But on the days that you're not motivated, you might not be happy about it, but you will still follow the routine, because the law of inertia will keep you doing the same thing over and over and over again until some outside force forces you to stop doing the same thing over and over again. How many times have you driven to work, got to work, you're sitting at your office, sitting at your desk, and you're like, damn, I don't even remember driving to work. I don't even remember getting up this morning. I don't even remember getting in my car, but you're there. That is the law of inertia. Part of it is the law of inertia, that you've done that thing so many times that you don't even recognize that you're doing it, because it just becomes habitual. And you can make this work for anything in your life, whether it's something that you want to do, need to do, or it's just a nice to have thing that you want to get into. Creating the routine, eventually the routine takes over and these actions become unconscious. You do them without even thinking about them. So even though you might not be thinking about the fact that you want to do it, you also won't be thinking about the fact that you don't want to do it. You will do it anyway by force of habit. Habit is stronger than you trying to will. Habit is stronger than willpower, ladies and gentlemen. Over the long run, you will do things habitually much more than you will yourself to do something that is not habitual. And what I call this is getting yourself to the threshold in this whole concept. Because remember, what we're talking about here is making yourself feel like it. So if you do everything up to the actual action, that can be enough to push you into doing the actual action, even though you already know you don't feel like doing the actual action. Let me give you an example. Flesh this out. Let's say you don't feel like going to the gym. You woke up today, you don't feel like going to the gym. You said you want to go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Today's Friday. You don't really feel like going to the gym. So how can you get yourself up to the threshold by using routines and habits and the law of inertia that maybe, hopefully, put you in a position to go to the gym anyway, because you know you need it even though you don't want it. Here's what you do. The night before the gym, Thursday night, set out your workout gear, everything you need to put on in order to go to the gym first thing in the morning. Make sure it's in your calendar. You make sure you had a space blocked off to actually spend time in the gym, because that's what you said you're going to do. Make sure your sneakers are next to the bed or wherever you get dressed at, next to the door or whatever. Make sure when you wake up in the morning, put your sneakers on, put your workout gear on, grab your water bottle, have it all ready so you don't have to go look for it, because if you add that in there and then it takes a little bit of willpower, then you don't want to do it anyway. So don't let willpower even come into the equation. Have everything set out so you don't need to rely on willpower, but because again, willpower is hard to rely on when you don't want to do something. All right, your willpower will take you in the other direction. Grab your water bottle, and by the time you do all of those things, you put your workout gear on, you got your gym bag ready, you got your water bottle ready, you got your workout sneakers ready. By the time you've done all of that, you have the momentum working in your favor that could possibly get you to say, you know what, I already put on all this workout gear, I got my sneakers on, I got my gym bag, I got my water bottle, I got it blocked off on the calendar, I'm standing at the front door, I might as well just go to the gym, damn it. I did all this, I might as well just keep going and just complete it and just go to the gym. Will this work? I think so. You should try it, and you tell me if it doesn't. The reason that this works is because human beings, we are creatures of habit. Human beings, we like to complete things. We have in our minds, I don't know the exact cognitive or scientific term that would be proper for this, but we like to complete things. Once we start things, we like to get to the completion of them. I remember I had a little sandwich bag. I had some candy in it, like some Mike and Ike's or something that I was eating. And there was only about 8 Mike and Ike's left in the bag. But I knew at that point, when there were 8 left in the bag, I had enough candy for today. I don't need to eat any more candy. But then I'm looking at the bag. I'm like, man, there's only 8 left. Let me just eat them all. So I just ate the last 8. Not because I needed to eat them. I did not even want to eat them. But there was only 8 left in the bag. I said, let me just eat them all so I can just finish this. So I can have this completed. We all do this. All right, human beings, we like to complete things. So if you put on your workout gear, grab your water bottle, put your sneakers on, walk to the front door, grab your car keys. Even if you don't want to go to the gym, you'll probably go to the gym anyway. Allow your human nature to work in your favor. This is why we put routines together. This is why we put together schedules. This is why we make plans, so that we can do the same thing over and over and over again, because the plan and the routine take over and we start doing things habitually. The law of inertia starts working in our favor. You want to use these laws in your favor and not try to work against them. If you are forcing yourself to do something by sheer willpower, the problem with that is, even though you may be able to force yourself a time or 2 or 10 to do something, over the long run, you will not keep doing something if the only thing that gets you to do it is willpower. Our willpower eventually runs out. You have to remember to use willpower. You want something that you don't have to think about at all. Your subconscious mind is stronger than your conscious mind. Don't put something that you have to remember. All right, put something that you will just do automatically. That's why you put routines together. So even if you don't feel like going to the gym, you may end up going, you'll at least get in the car. I don't feel like leaving. All right, let me just walk outside. All right, I don't feel like let me just get in the car. I don't feel like getting out now that I'm at the gym. I'm already here. I might as well just go in. I don't feel like doing anything. Let me just walk on the treadmill a little bit. And before you know it, you got a workout in. It might not have been your best workout, but you did something. That is the power of putting routines in place and letting the law of inertia work in your favor. If you don't feel like writing 500 words for that day, because you said you want to start blogging, you want to be a writer, or you want to write a book, sit down at the computer, open up Google Docs, clear your schedule, and just stare at that blank screen. Even if that's all you do, you are working the routine. You are working the habit. Eventually, you're like, all right, since I'm sitting here, I might as well write something so I don't sit here feeling stupid, staring at the screen, doing nothing for 2 hours. I might as well write something. I'm here. And even if it's terrible writing, at least you did the work. At least you moved yourself to the next step. That is the power, again, of putting a routine in place. Even if you don't know what the routine is going to be yet, just write it down. Here's the steps that I'm going to take. Set yourself up for success ahead of time. So clear your desk the night before. Take everything out of the way. Make sure you got, if you need to drink coffee in the morning, have your coffee pot ready and everything you need to make your coffee. Make sure you got a clear schedule for 2 hours. Make sure you set your alarm so you wake up, and then just sit there. And eventually you'll probably just start writing because you ain't got nothing else to do. You're already in the place. This is what I mean by getting yourself to the threshold. Do everything up to that very action that you were going to take or you were thinking about taking, and then you'll probably do it anyway. Why? Because it's the last step. You already completed the other 7 steps. You might as well do step number 8 because human beings, we have to complete things. Let your nature work for you. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, how to make yourself feel like it, even when you don't feel like it. Remember the whole concept of the third day and the separation day. If you don't know what that is, I've done a couple episodes where I talked around the topic of the third day, where I talked about the first day in episode number 1262, and I also talked about the fourth day in episode number 907. And I got more stuff coming about the very concept of the third day coming soon. But I talked about the third day in my book, The Mirror of Motivation. If you're listening to this show, I'm assuming you already have a physical copy of The Mirror of Motivation because I've been giving the book away for free for some time now while supplies last. So if you don't have your copy, go to mirrorofmotivation.com and get the book. There's a chapter on the third day in that book. If you have my book, Work on Your Game, using the pro athlete mindset to dominate your game in business, sports, and life. In that book, I did a whole chapter on the third day. So you should probably assume this, as I talked about the third day in 2 different books, that is a pretty important concept. What the third day is about is every time that you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you make yourself a little bit stronger. You build a little bit more of that willpower. You are enacting a little bit more of your discipline. And here's the thing. When you get to the highest levels of whatever you do, there will be days that you don't feel like doing it. I don't care who you are, what your job is, or how great the job is. There are days you don't feel like being at work. All right, the biggest CEO at the biggest company out there, there are days they don't really feel like being at work because we're all human. Life happens to all of us. We all got other stuff going on outside of work. None of us always feels like being at the office or at the gym or at the computer or at the microphone or on our phones. We'd rather be doing other things, but the professionals, the highest level individuals out there and the highest paid individuals out there, they find a way to make themselves do their job even when they don't feel like being at work. That's what the third day is about. And we got more coming on that subject in the future. Man, what is the separation day? The third day is really about what you're doing with yourself. The third day is you looking in the mirror. The separation day is that same third day, but how it relates to other individuals. What that means is this. The same time that you have moments that you don't feel like doing your thing, whatever your thing is, other people have these same problems. Every human being on this planet has these days. The separation day is the day that you don't feel like it, but you show up anyway. And another individual who may be your competition, they don't feel like it and they don't show up. So what is that? A little bit of separation is created between you and that individual because they didn't show up and because you did. But it's a very small, minuscule separation that you can't see with the physical eye. It's microscopic. But over time, as you keep showing up and they keep having these days where they don't show up, that separation just gets wider and wider and wider. It's kind of like the waves of the ocean beating against the rocks and eventually they turn into sand and it becomes a beach. That's the same way that the third day and the separation day work. Every time you show up and they don't, you get a bit further ahead of the competition. For now, just keep this in mind. Life is a competition. Even if you're not a super competitive individual who wants to beat everybody, life's a competition anyway. There are people trying to beat you even if you don't know that they exist. And since nobody always feels like it, the more you push yourself to show up anyway, you are creating the slight edge that makes all the difference, especially at the professional level, everybody. Because those of you who are not professionals, and even those of you who are, let me remind you those who are, and let me inform you those who are not. When you're at the professional level of what you do, you don't win on skill, and you don't win on talent, and you don't win on resources, you don't win on access to resources, because at the professional level, everybody has those. No, the thing that makes you win at the professional level is the mental edge that you have. What makes you win at the professional level is showing up even when you don't feel like showing up. Because everybody who's a professional has some level of skill. That's why they're being paid. They probably have some level of talent. That's how they got recognized. They probably have some access to resources. I mean, they're a professional after all. Even if they don't have the resources, they could probably get it. They're probably a step or two away from getting it. So you don't win at the pro level on those, at least not for long. You win at the pro level based on your willingness to keep showing up and doing the work. So pros out there, this is just a reminder for you. All right, what makes you a pro is not your talent. It is not your skills. There's other people with just as much, if not more than you. And the amateurs out there, when you want to become a pro, here's the thing that's going to make all the difference. Are you willing to keep showing up, even when the results you've expected are not the results that you've achieved? We talk about that every single day. When I talk mental toughness, one of the key aspects of being a professional is that mental edge. Again, not your talent. Everybody got that. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is how to make yourself feel like it when it comes to doing something that you said you wanted to do. Number one, don't make yourself feel like it. Maybe you will never make yourself feel like doing the thing, but it still needs to be done. Well, do it anyway. This is always an option, and sometimes it's not even an option. It's a necessity. When motivation and energy are lacking, there will be times that you need this. So keep handling the idea that you do not need to feel like it to do your job. Professionals, you know this. Number two, have a routine and follow it. All right, habit and inertia will carry you to action. I call this getting yourself to the threshold. So if there's 8 steps in your process, do the first 7. You will move yourself to do step number 8, even though you didn't really feel like doing step 8 because of the completion mentality that human beings have. We did the first 7 steps. We might as well just complete this cycle and do step 8. Just like me eating the last pieces of candy, even though I didn't need to eat any more candy, but there's only a few left. Why save these till tomorrow? I might as well just finish them off and complete the job. You can do the same thing with yourself in anything, even something that's actually good for you, unlike Mike and Ike's. And number 3, remember that the third day and the separation day are about you showing up and proving to yourself and building your own willpower and discipline and mental toughness. Separation day is how you separate yourself from other people who didn't make the same decision that you made because they weren't listening to this master class, and that's their problem. Every time you show up and they don't, you get a bit further ahead of the competition. Remember that life is a competition. Even if you're not the one competing against other people, there are other people competing against you. So the more often you push yourself to show up, you create a slight edge that makes all the difference, especially at the pro level, because at the pro level, you will not win on resources, talent, and skill because everybody has those. If you don't have anything else, you will not remain a pro for long. All that said, send me a text and tell me the most valuable insight you got from today's master class. My number is 305-384-6894. Once again, 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.